All right, good evening and welcome back to the Football Tribe UG channel. Robert Kesakos is your usual suspect. Welcome back to yet another live broadcast on the Football Tribe UG channel. Apologies on that. Just having our audios tested to make sure everything does check out before we get started with tonight's conversation that will rotate around Viktor Gyokeres among other things. So bear with me as I get ourselves set, ready, uh, as I wait for the rest of you to join this broadcast and we get into the thick of tonight's conversation. But yeah, that's where our topic will revolve around. It will revolve around Viktor Gyokeres, um, the strikers market that seems to be heating up. Of course, a little bit of the FIFA Club World Cup that gets underway tomorrow. We'll be talking about that as well in just a bit. So please bear with. I'm waiting for you guys to join the broadcast. As when you join, kindly like the broadcast, but also consider subscribing to the channel before we get it all started. And then I'll also be telling you about our content that is going to be coming your way. Some content, some new content that is going to be coming your way. So please keep your eyes peeled out for it. So yeah, I think that is set as well. That is set. Plenty of things to discuss, of course, tonight, but so much noise going around around the strikers, around Viktor Gyokeres, and things of that nature. Yeah. And that's what we will be discussing in tonight's broadcast, among other topics. Yes, for those of you that do care to know. I'm waiting for the rest of you to join the broadcast so that we can get tonight's conversation underway with what is happening around the world of sports. Kindly like the broadcast and consider subscribing to the channel. Robert Kesakos is your usual suspect, coming to you live from Kampala, Uganda. And more importantly, do let me know where you're joining us from down in the comment section. And I'll be reading your comments. I'll be giving you shout outs as we during the course of this broadcast. And on that note, therefore, I wish to send out my shout outs to some of our usual suspects. Mario Momoto, Peter Parker, Apresi Nkosi, Ahmed Septa, Safa Ali, Boss Royal, and all the others, Vana, Tavuk, what's his name? Zero Requiem, those are some of our usual suspects on this channel that are often with us for our different live broadcasts. So shout outs to you, my people, and all the others that do watch, all the others that check out our content or watch our broadcasts after they finished airing. We do appreciate your time. Thank you to all our new subscribers. Welcome to the community. And those that stay silent but continue to follow whatever we do on this channel, we do not take your time for granted as well. So, and on that note, therefore, we will dive straight into tonight's conversation because a lot of news has been flying around regarding transfers and things of that nature. Please like the broadcast. Team India, thank you so much. H Gamer, is it MNXZ Gamer? February. Who else? I'm forgetting. Explorer, and all the others. Team India, thank you so much, and all the others that do follow our channel so much. Thank you so much for being with us. Anyways, I thought we had figured out what we were going to discuss tonight. And just before I came on, or as I did my final prep for this particular broadcast, revelations were made. Stefano Pioli is on the move. We talked about Stefano Pioli in the morning. that he was on the verge of joining Fiorentina to be their next new manager. And indeed, according to Fabrizio Romano, the former AC Milan boss is set to sign a 3-year contract with Fiorentina, and as Fiorentina head coach. That's in July. Verbal agreement has been agreed and is in place. So for more steps will follow next. But like I said, that's just secondary. Tonight we have come to learn that Viktor Gyokeres would prefer a move to the Premier League as opposed to any other suitors in regards to his signature. Of course, Juventus are among the teams that have made inquiries over the conditions for the signing of the 27-year-old Swedish striker, who is currently a Sporting Lisbon player. Saudi Pro League clubs have been reported to have interest in the Swedish international, but according to latest reports, he does fancy a move to the Premier League. And even if it were to be in the Premier League, reports also further confirm that he would give Arsenal the priority ahead of the likes of Manchester United, ahead of the likes of Chelsea, all who have made inquiries about the player. Maybe not at club level, but maybe at the agent's level. Hi, Safar Ali. Good evening to you, Mr. Safar Ali is one of our usual suspects, normally joining us from Turkey. They are a Fenerbahce fan, an Arsenal fan in the Premier League, and a Real Madrid fan when it goes to Spain. I would be interested in knowing, Safar Ali, which of the 3 teams would you be supporting if they were to meet in the same competition, preferably the UEFA Champions League. But good evening to you, my brother, and it's a pleasure to always have you. So, Viktor Gyokeres, that's the preference, that he would prefer to move to the Premier League, and particularly he would give the priority to Arsenal. I think because Arsenal also have the chance or the promise of UEFA Champions League as compared to Manchester United. According to the same reports, he's not said no outrightly to Manchester United, who have also explored a deal for the Sporting player. Now, again, in the context of Manchester United, it's the manager Ruben Amorim who is key. Personally, I've always said, and I will stick to this, even in the work of this news, that Manchester United hold an advantage among all the other clubs in the Premier League over Viktor Gyokeres, because definitely Liverpool. But that's contrary to all the 3 teams, Fenerbahce, Real Madrid, and Arsenal. Anyways, so that's his preference anyway. Because of the link with the manager Ruben Amorim, who is trying to play the same system he played at Sporting Lisbon, he would be better suited to come and fit into that system, and then he bangs in the goals. At least that would be the hope. But in regards to getting a pitch out there, I get the feeling that when Ruben Amorim pulls out his spreadsheets in regards to the future of Viktor Gyokeres, he can't really get ahead of everyone else, because it would ideally, the pitch would partly be it's only one season outside UEFA Champions League, and with you we can make it. We can get back into the Champions League, be the guy that leads us back to that. We lost out to Spurs last season in the final. Be the guy that makes the difference, and he would possibly be a part of that. And then, of course, they go on with the kinds of players that they are trying to sign to support him in the pursuit of scoring those goals. Matthias Cunha is already on board. They are pursuing Brandon Mbeumo. Bruno Fernandes has decided to stay with the club. So I think that's how the pitch for Ruben Amorim to Viktor Gyokeres and his camp would look like. On the other side, Arsenal, who now, the thing about Arsenal this summer is that news keeps on coming from different angles that they are pursuing Viktor Gyokeres, they're pursuing Benjamin Sesko as priority. Now, this is emanating from the fact that Andre Bata, as new sporting director at Arsenal, prefers the kind of format where he puts his cards all out for everybody to see. He pursues at multiple fronts. And then he at the final moment, he decides on who to go with. I can see we have Bao Denish. I love your program. I'm Bao Denish from Uganda. Hi, Bao Denish. Good to have you, my brother, from Uganda as well. My fellow countryman here. Thank you so much for the love and support. Do let me know what team do you support, if any. That's in the Premier League or elsewhere, for as long as you're a football fan. But thank you so much, Bao Denish, for the love and support. I hope obviously I'm seeing you for the first time in our engagement section, and I hope you will make it a habit. But more importantly, if you're new to the channel, kindly consider subscribing. So because Andrea Bata is attacking the market on multiple fronts, that's it's sort of contrary to what we are accustomed to. Years gone by, we've been used to, Edgar Gaspar Dawood, who sits with Mikel Arteta, and of course, the rest of, the planning team and etc. They zero down to a candidate of a player, and they say, we are going to pursue that one. Should that deal fail, then we will then turn to the other one as our plan B. And of course, oftentimes, he would prefer to be clandestine in his operations, to be secretive. For those of you that do remember, in 2023, that's the summer of 2023 when Arsenal were signing Declan Rice from West Ham United. Again, Edu Gaspar Dawood moved as secretary, getting his contacts in place, reaching out to Declan Rice and things of that nature, until when they got to invite, I think, Declan Rice to an apartment, or I think Mikel Arteta's home, or an apartment somewhere in London, and Mikel Arteta gave him his speech, and he did reveal just as much, that after that speech, he was convinced that Arsenal was the best destination for him. So, but in this particular case, we have so many names of strikers that have been put out there and that Arsenal are likely to pursue. One of them is Viktor Gyokeres, Benjamin Sesko. The whole of last week and at the start of this week, all we've been hearing is Arsenal advancing with negotiations with Benjamin Sesko. Yes, no agreement is yet in place at club level and on a player side in regards to personal terms, but at least the player has signaled that he will be keen to joining Arsenal. And then suddenly, at the tail end of this week, or as we see out this week, the coins are flipped to the fact that now it is Viktor Gyokeres who could be the priority. And that's all the work of Andrea Bata. Then, however, contrary to earlier reports that Arsenal had made a bid for Viktor Gyokeres, the fact is that no bid has been sent in yet, at least officially. Formal inquiries have been there on both player side and club side, from Arsenal to Sporting Lisbon and Viktor Gyokeres' side, but no formal bid has been sent in. Again, and in the wake of that, we've been hearing the anguish or the fury of Viktor Gyokeres in regards to his club officials for what he suspects the sort of inflation of his price tag, contrary to what their gentleman's agreement does stipulate. Now, the player in itself has a release clause of 100 million euros. But given that he turned 27, and given that he gave his loyalty to Sporting Lisbon, even despite interest for him in the previous summer, although some reports again will speak contrary to that, they did agree that maybe Sporting Lisbon would ask for a lesser fee, which would be in the region of about 65 to 60 to 70 million euros if any suitors did come on board. However, reports in Portugal did suggest that some of his suitors had been told a fee higher than that, and which caused a bit of fury between him and the club. And in fact, the other day he put out a brief statement on his Instagram stories, saying that a lot of false things are being said, but at the right time he will come out and speak. Good evening to you, my brother Pressing Kosi. Shout out to you, one of our regular or usual suspects here on the Football Tribe UG channel. Always a pleasure to have you on the broadcast. So that's really the speculation with Viktor Gyokeres, and that news was brought forward by the usual suspect in Fabrizio Romano, who says Viktor Gyokeres' priority is to join Arsenal this summer, despite calls for Manchester United in recent weeks. Gyokeres is always an option amid Sesko talks, with no deals sealed so far. Arsenal keep assessing situation. United remain keen, but believe deal now unlikely. So United believe that a deal for Viktor Gyokeres is a bit unlikely at the moment. But also United are being smart with their transfer business. In fact, we will be putting out a video. I think it should be coming out tomorrow morning, anywhere between 9 and 10 a.m. Regarding Manchester United when we get to assess their situation. But just to bring you up to speed, Manchester United, after missing out on Liam Delap, who since joined Chelsea, they've made inquiries about Viktor Gyokeres, they've made inquiries about Hugo Ekitike, who I think it's a bit of a long shot. Their chances of getting him could be anywhere between 1 or 2 out of 10. And then the other player they are interested in signing is Victor Osimhen. Now, so those are 3 options that they can look to try and bring to the club. So Man United are not equally sticking to one priority. So while Fabrizio Romano reports that United remain keen, but they believe that a deal is unlikely, he's not the only target. Just this week, they made inquiries about the availability or the conditions for signing Hugo Ekitike, who is a priority signing or a priority target for both Liverpool and Chelsea. Then there's that curious case of Victor Osimhen. We all know about Victor Osimhen's story. Did turn down a move to the Saudi Pro League with Al Hilal, turned down that whooping wage offer of in the excess of 40 million euros as net pay per season. And then of course Galatasaray put forward an offer for him in the region of 15 million euros as net pay for him, and he's yet to accept to say yes or no to that. At the moment, he spent there last season on loan, but also there's a lot of interest in him still around Europe. Juventus are interested, Manchester United are interested. According to yesterday's gossip or reports, Liverpool have expressed some level of interest in the Nigerian striker. Now, for him to accomplish a move to any of those European teams, be it Man United, be it Chelsea, be it Liverpool, be it Juventus, I think he would need to take a pay cut on his current wages at Napoli, where he earns a net pay of about 12 million euros. So that is the expectation, or that will be the request from all those suitors. And in the particular case of Manchester United, he would need to express the desire to join Manchester United, but also be willing to take a pay cut on that. Manchester United do pay good wages, and they are looking forward to moving on some players that are on hefty wages, but have not really delivered, including Alejandro Garnacho. Sorry, Alejandro Garnacho is not on high wages. Sorry, Jordan Sancho, one of those on high wages, but also Marcus Rashford is the other player they are looking forward to moving on. If an offer does come, they would listen to offers for Casemiro, as well as the goalkeeper Andre Onana. So they are looking to slice their wage bill, and that may create room in regards to what they would pay their incomings. Remember, the case of Brandon Mbeumo, it is being reported that he would demand a salary or a wage in the region of 230 to 250 grand a week. So when it gets to Victor Osimhen, those will be the conditions that would sort of create a conducive environment for Manchester United to firm up their interest and try to sign him, because his waiving clause is widely reported to be around 70 million euros. But still speaking of the whole situation around strikers, because that's the key topic. Ben Jacobs of Give Me Sport, he goes on to offer some clarity regarding to what Fabrizio Romano had earlier on reported. He says, and I quote, Viktor Gyokeres prefers a move to the Premier League and would welcome an Arsenal bid, as reported, as Record Portugal reported. Arsenal still deciding between Benjamin Sesko and Gyokeres. Andre Bata simultaneously advancing on both deals. So there you have it. Andre Bata attacking on all fronts, but Arsenal are yet to decide definitively on who to zero down to. Again, we've sat here and I've explained to you widely why Arsenal's priority, I personally think, is on Benjamin Sesko, because that's the player on whom they've done the most homework. That's the player they tried to pursue last summer. He's the player they tried to sign. I can see CXV. I said hello, friends. Hello, CXV. Thanks for joining us. Liverpool interested in Osimhen. yes, that interest was reported yesterday. It's not known whether Liverpool have reached out formally, but according to reports coming out, that they could hold some interest, although their priority target remains Victor Osimhen. Their priority target remains Hugo Ekitike as far as transfers are concerned. So that's the expectation of the news on the side of Liverpool. So like I said, in the wake of the scarcity that lies within the strikers market, I wouldn't want to believe that some reports are wide of the mark. They could have some truth to them in terms of what clubs or what players clubs have on their short lists when it comes to strikers. So then Ben Jacobs continues to say that Gyokeres would be open to Manchester United. There has been no formal rejection, but a deal to date has also never been at an advanced stage despite suggestions. United have not made any formal approach for Sporting Swedish striker, one of several striker options discussed for Manchester United. Once again, Ben Jacobs highlighting on what I was telling you guys, that United do not only have one name on their shortlist. That's why they made inquiries about Hugo Ekitike, Victor Osimhen, and Viktor Gyokeres in the wake of missing out on Liam Delap. Viktor Gyokeres believes he will still be allowed to leave Sporting for about 70 million euros. Arsenal have always been one to watch, but it will depend on Bata now because he is also in ongoing talks for Sesko at the same time, with a bid for one of the two targets expected soon. Gyokeres is going to give priority to the Premier League clubs despite having firm Saudi interest and a growing number of European suitors. So there you have it, guys, in regards to Benjamin Sesko. So in regards to Benjamin Sesko and Viktor Gyokeres, his preference is the Premier League, but he has a growing list of suitors from around Europe. Just to rewind back a little bit in regards to Prissy Nkosi's comment on the Liverpool's interest in Victor Osimhen. Like I said, the reason for that and why I believe there is a little possibility of truthness to it, because by the way, that story was I think brought forward by Gimme Sport, who said Liverpool were considering a move for Napoli and Nigerian striker Victor Osimhen, who spent last season on loan to Galatasaray. So the reason as to why I'm personally inclined to believing some of these rumors are linking all these players to the respective clubs boils down to the limited options of strikers across Europe and slightly beyond. If we are talking about midfielders and defenders, clubs can go out there and literally cherry pick in regards to who they want to sign, in regards who they may not want to sign. The perfect example I gave was regarding Bayern Munich in their pursuit for a replacement for Leroy Sané, their desire for a left-sided winger. And on the shortlist, they do have Bradley Barcola from PSG, Nico Williams from Atletico Madrid, Cody Gakpo from Liverpool, Kaoru Mitoma from Brighton and Hove Albion, and Rafael Leao from AC Milan. That's at least 5 names on that shortlist, for a left winger. So you can imagine they can pick and choose, really. They can choose to go with any of those options, but the priority would be Bradley Barcola. Although realizing that PSG want to keep him, they've since switched to Nico Williams, for whom Barcelona have now re-entered the race to try and sign him. So that is contrary to what the kind of options clubs have when it comes to strikers. I don't know if you've noticed, but look at all clubs that are in hand for sort of a quote-unquote a prime striker or a very good striker. They are all rotating around the same names. We're talking about Chelsea, who just signed Liam Delap and are still in the market trying to get another striker. On top of their list is Hugo Ekitike from Eintracht Frankfurt. But also their shortlist is Benjamin Sesko, is Viktor Gyokeres. Those are the 3 names that have been reported. When you go to Juventus, who believe that Dusan Vlahovic could leave them this summer, Viktor Gyokeres and Victor Osimhen are the names that are some of the names that have been mentioned in that conversation, alongside Rasmus Højlund. for Manchester United. When you go down to Napoli, the kinds of names they have on their shortlist, Rasmus Højlund does feature. Then Jonathan David, who is a free agent after leaving Lille, and then Darwin Núñez is the other name that has been discussed. But also, Darwin Núñez, there's interest for him from the Saudi Pro League. When you go to Arsenal, again, same names, Benjamin Sesko, Viktor Gyokeres. When you go to Liverpool, Hugo Ekitike is a priority. Benjamin Sesko has been mentioned in that breadth. And then Goncalo Ramos from PSG is the other name that was mentioned surrounding the Liverpool situation, with Victor Osimhen being the latest name to be added to that list. So, again, that speaks to what? One thing, there's so many of these names are being common. Many of these names are the same names, at least, because Victor Osimhen is like, the sticking point is about his wages paid, but there's a lot of interest for him. Gyokeres, same thing. Sesko, same thing. Hugo Ekitike, same thing. Now, on Chelsea's shortlist, the other player that is on it is Emmanuel Emega from Strasbourg in France. Now, Strasbourg is literally a sister club to Chelsea. They're doing so many business together, and that's where Petrovic and Andres Santos spent their loans last summer. And in fact, there's, I think, about 2 Chelsea players that will be going to Strasbourg on season-long loan. Now, the thing about Strasbourg is that they do not want to lose Emmanuel Emega in the summer because they did qualify to play in the UEFA Conference League, so they want to retain the player. And Chelsea are open to signing him this summer and then wait until the summer of 2026 to take him to Stamford Bridge. So those are the reports surrounding that. So, in a nutshell, that's the situation revolving around Viktor Gyokeres, Benjamin Sesko. Now, Arsenal fans, you're going to have your anxiety on for some bit of time. Chelsea fans, same story. The advantage for Chelsea fans is that their team is going to be playing in the FIFA Club World Cup that does kick off tomorrow. So their focus may be, shifted away to that side. But if you're a Manchester United fan, if you're a Liverpool fan, if you're an Arsenal fan, your anxiety is going to go in the coming days, because there's nothing really to look forward to your team beyond transfers. So that's where the concentration is, and that's why you feel that bit of anxiety. Why is that deal not getting done? We keep hearing it's closed. We keep hearing negotiations have taken place. We keep hearing some advancement has been made here and there, but nothing is crossing the line. The advantage for Liverpool fans is that they've sealed Jeremy Frimpong. He's already a Liverpool player. Florian Wirtz is going to be undertaking his medical next week after to complete that 135 or 36 million euro deal. 100 million pounds guaranteed fees with 16 million pounds in expected add-ons. Now, according to Sky Germany, that total package for Florian Wirtz in future add-ons could rise to the tune of 150 million euros. And again, I did give my submission why I think Liverpool are going to pay that, although it's not all in wholesome that they're getting 100 and they're paying 150 million euros straight away to Bayer Leverkusen. I did give my insights or opinion on why I think that in itself, that kind of deal, that kind of transfer fee, kind of soils the transfer market for all other clubs that are trying to pursue these big players, specifically from Germany, but also elsewhere in Europe. Another of our usual suspects finally joins us in Peter Parker. Hi, my friend. How are you doing? I hope you're doing well. I hope you're having a wonderful weekend. It's good to have you rejoin us once again. So that's the bit of the situation regarding those teams, because once Liverpool have agreed to pay that fee, which is a record transfer fee, by the way, to the tune of 116 million pounds rising. It's a record transfer fee for a player from Germany to the Premier League. It's a record transfer fee for the Premier League in terms of total package. It's a record transfer fee for Liverpool. But what it simply means is that Bayer Leverkusen took a back seat and said, this is our valuation of the player. Either you meet it or we won't be budging in terms of total package. Now, we already have interest Frankfurt trying to demand literally for the same. Nico is coming to Barcelona. For those of you that ought to be informed, Peter Parker is a Barcelona fan. Now, we're going to speak about Nico Williams and the situation surrounding Nico Williams, and why I tell you that Arsenal fans should be worried, that Bayern Munich fans should be worried. So, anyways, back to Ekitike and Florian Wirtz. So, because Eintracht Frankfurt value Hugo Ekitike at 100 million euros, they'll simply sit back and say, because Liverpool have signaled to the player that they are interested in signing him. They've, however, been open to tell him, enough to tell him that them firming up their interest in him could depend on a few departures, including Darwin Núñez, who they may have to sort of sell off first before they make an offer to Frankfurt to try and sign him. So what is it to say that Frankfurt do not equally sit back and stick to their guns and say it's either 100 million euros or you walk away? Similar situation to Arsenal, who are trying to negotiate a lesser fee as opposed to the reported 80 million euros release clause for Benjamin Sesko. However, that release clause in itself is reported to be fluid. So the fee is anywhere between 80 million euros and 100 million euros, according to the valuation of RB Leipzig for the player. Arsenal are trying to negotiate a lesser fee. But again, RB Leipzig are not being quick to say, no, listen, maybe to, a fee in this other region. Why? Because Liverpool have accepted to pay that much for Florian Wirtz. Take the example of Brentford, in their negotiations with Manchester United over a potential deal for Bryan Mbeumo. Do you know what they said? Their counter was, we value our player at almost the same value or slightly higher to that of Matthias Cunha, who you just agreed to buy for £62.5 million from Wolverhampton Wanderers. Now, they do say they value Bryan Mbeumo at about £70 million, which is negotiable but cannot be lower than what Man United paid for Matthias Cunha. So they are using that fee for Matthias Cunha as a benchmark for their negotiations over Bryan Mbeumo. So basically the same thing is going to happen with that whole Florian Wirtz deal. For as long as a club thinks that their player is within the same talent region or the same bracket with Florian Wirtz, they're going to simply say, Liverpool just paid that much for Florian Wirtz. And this is why we think our player is worth this, and it should be what you pay if you want to really secure their signature and that kind of thing. Now, what I also suspect could happen is that prices of these players could drop in the aftermath of the FIFA World Cup. That's of course, by that time we've entered July, and by mid-July, after the first week of July, oftentimes players are returning from their summer break and going into preseason. So at that point, I suspect that a good number of teams would have zeroed down to who their primary targets will be, and then that, depending on who goes where first or last, who goes where first, could have an influence over the other deals. Take an example. If, let's say, Arsenal go out and sign Viktor Gyokeres, that means Benjamin Sesko is off the table for them as an option. So that means that he ought to look, trade elsewhere. Then Chelsea maybe go in, maybe Liverpool go in. And if, let's say, Liverpool sign Hugo Ekitike, that means he's taken off Manchester United's shortlist. So that means the shortlist now narrows down. But as it narrows down, also the factor of time that clubs are edging closer to, that they're in preseason, and then eventually the season is set to be kicking off in early August. Around that time, then time becomes of the essence. Because if you believe that you're going to let your player go, you want to let them go on time so that you can sign a replacement as well, and those kinds of things. So a number of factors could determine the prices going slightly down as opposed to what they are now. So it may have to depend on more movements beyond those that have already moved at this stage of the transfer window. Again, the other example now is still with Bryan Mbeumo. Unfortunately for them, this is may turn out to be a small bidding war, between Manchester United and Tottenham Hotspur regarding Bryan Mbeumo. That's the unfortunate bit of it is that if, let's say, United wanted to go back to the second bid and say, okay, we'll make the guaranteed fees maybe £50 million, and then the £7 million will be the add-ons. So that makes a total package of about £57 million. So if they come with that, then Spurs could say, we'll offer £52 million and plus £5 million in add-ons. What that means is that there's an extra £2 million in guaranteed fees, because usually clubs in bidding wars do not oftentimes counter with much bigger offers unless it is being engineered between one of the bidding clubs and the players' agents or the other club to say, kindly raise your bid so that this other club, which the player is giving priority to, can also hype up their bid. I remember having that kind of theory when it came to Declan Rice moving to Arsenal. You remember, Arsenal had already registered their interest, and I think their opening bid was about £75 million. Then suddenly, out of the blue, Man City, who were interested in signing Lucas Paqueta at the time, swooped in for Declan Rice, and they were willing to offer about £80 million plus, and the total package would end up around the mark of £89 million in guaranteed fees and add-ons. And then suddenly Arsenal sort of were a bit rushed, and then they eventually offered the £100 million plus 5 in expected add-ons. So, and things of that nature. There could be a factor, So, but let's wait and see. But the transfer market for strikers is going to be a heated one. It's going to be a hot one. So do expect movements, but some could be delayed. So if there's any club that you support, you may need to be patient with it in regards to a signing of a striker, particularly. But let's hope things move a little faster than we anticipate them to be. Anyways, moving away from the whole discussion around strikers, I hope guys have exhausted every possible angle that there is about the striking situation with these big clubs and who is interested in who is the priority where, and what's the current reports revolving around those players, and etc. If anybody has a question regarding the strikers situation, do not hesitate to put it down in the comment section. Otherwise, allow me move on to Nico Williams, as Peter Parker put forward. Now, again, I was speaking about Peter Parker for those of you that were part of our morning broadcast. I was speaking about Nico Williams for those of you that were part of our morning broadcast, and I think also last night. Now, the situation with Nico Williams is that clubs have been interested in his services ever since last summer, in the aftermath, or even before the Euro Championships that were played in Germany, Euro 2024. That Spain went on to win, beating England by 2-1 in the final. Now, all the clubs that registered their interest were Barcelona, were Arsenal, were Chelsea, were Liverpool. Those were the clubs mentioned with the reported interest or strong interest in signing Nico Williams from Atletico Bilbao. Those that tried to advance, I do not know to what extent in regards to his pursuit. First of all, many were off-put by the player's wages. He's on really high wages, more than 200 grand a week at Bilbao. And the reason for that is because Bilbao only signed players from within their locality of region, and because they usually sign them for very low, transfer fees. Many come from the academy, domestic local teams, and etc. They put them on very high wages. So Nico Williams is one of those players on high wages, and as we speak, Atletico Bilbao have initiated contract extension talks with him with the view of also increasing his wages as well as increasing his current release clause that is reported to be in the region of about 58 to 60 million euros. Now, going back to last summer's interest, also what suitors were told was that the player would prefer to stay in Spain. At that time, Barcelona were reported to be really interested. And that is true. The Barcelona president, Joan Laporta, recently confessed on Spanish television that last summer, yes, they were interested in signing Nico Williams. However, he went on to say that this summer is maybe that they've moved on from that kind of interest and that they are considering Luis Diaz. Okay, he did not, he said they were considering other options. And then Barcelona's sporting director, that's Deco, who played for Barcelona and Chelsea as well, for those of you that do remember, went in his own interview and gave names and spoke about Luis Diaz and Marcus Rashford. That was at the tail end of the season. And I remember when Anna Slot was asked about those comments or Barcelona's reported interest in Luis Diaz, the way they put it out there openly, Anna Slot's response was, we also like Lamine Yamal. So that was it. So then what happened was last summer is that eventually Nico Williams did not move. He did not get a transfer either to Barcelona or Arsenal or any other suitor whatsoever. He stayed at Bilbao. And although last season, which is 2024-2025, has been underwhelming by his own standards because we did expect progress. Of course, in the UEFA Europa League, he did fairly well, as opposed to, the Spanish La Liga, where I thought he didn't, sort of live to the desired expectations, really, in my personal opinion, because he made 29 appearances in the Spanish La Liga, scored 5 goals, and provided 5 assists. That's a 10-goal involvement. You do expect more from a player of his caliber. But every time you watch Nico Williams with the Spanish national team, you really, really understand why many of these clubs are trying to are literally clamoring for his signature. There is a very, very good player in there. So he did not get the move. And he ended up staying. But when you look at, again, his numbers, because for the 2023-2024 season, he had scored 5 goals and provided 11 assists. That gave him a 16-goal contribution in 31 appearances, which was a very, very good return on numbers, So, and it showed progress because compare that to 2022-2023 season where he had scored goals and provided 4 assists. So that meant that was a significant improvement, and hence the interest for majority of these teams. But like I said, his wages that are reported to be around 7 to 8 million euros in net pay have been quite off-putting for majority of his suitors. So he ended up staying, teams moved on. Come fast forward to this summer, Arsenal are still interested. Barcelona, who we thought, according to Deco, that they had moved on to Luis Diaz and Marcus Rashford, they did approach Liverpool. That's Barcelona, for Luis Diaz, because apparently Luis Diaz's dream is to play for Barcelona. However, he still has 2 years left to his contract at Liverpool. But he also did acknowledge that he and his entourage, quote unquote, his entourage or his people were speaking to other clubs because Liverpool are yet to, initiate contract renewal talks with him. That notwithstanding, he did say he's still happy at Liverpool and he will be okay to see out the remainder of his contract. He wouldn't try to force a move, in other words. So Barcelona did approach Liverpool, and Liverpool rebuffed those, interests. I think personally, what I feel is that Liverpool may have sort of felt a bit disrespected, or for Barcelona to outrightly sit there and speak about their player in open terms, in the tone of being one of those that they admire or that they want to pursue, not just admiring, but they want to pursue. If let's say Deco had sat there doing that interview and he wasn't speaking in the context of what kind of transfers they are looking to make or the kinds of players that they are looking to bring to Barcelona, and he was just mentioning players of many players that he does really, really like, and based on how good they've been, either the previous season or all of the years, then maybe the context would have been a bit different. But he outrightly said it, that Luis Diaz was a target, and Marcus Rashford. So Liverpool quickly told them they are not interested in selling Luis Diaz. So if they are not interested in selling Luis Diaz, and yet the same Luis Diaz has interest from the Saudi Pro League, with Al Nassr expected to make a bid in the excess of 85 million euros to try and sign the Colombian international. Now, whether that kind of a transfer fee or offer would change Liverpool's mind, or at least bring them to the negotiating table, remains to be seen. So once Liverpool rebuffed Barcelona's interest for Luis Diaz, personally, I had thought that Barcelona would now turn their full attention to Marcus Rashford, with whom they had held initial talks with his representatives, according to reports. And those reports reached as far as suggesting, wondering whether he would be willing to take a pay cut to join Barcelona. Because remember, at Manchester United, he's on really, really high wages. And that's why even when he made the loan move to Aston Villa did not agree to pay his wages in entirety. They agreed to pay about 75% of his wages, with the extra 15% covered, with the extra 25% covered by Manchester United. That's how high it should be telling you. His wages are north of 300,000 pounds a week. Remember, he signed that contract in the aftermath of the 2022-2023 season, where he had a very, very impressive season at Manchester United. I think had a tally of about 30 goals across all competitions, or more than 30. And then the following season, 2023-2024, yeah, that's when he fell off the wagon. And we started hearing about all these problems and etc., how he was struggling on and off the pitch and things of that nature. This season wasn't any different for him at Manchester United until he made that loan move to Aston Villa, where he did sort of change his fortunes, and he looked a much better player. He looked an admirable player, a player that any Premier side would be happy to sign. So instead of moving for Marcus Rashford, out of the blue, or all of a sudden, we were treated to these reports that Barcelona had held talks with Nico Williams' agent. Now, before Barcelona came in that conversation, we had Bayern Munich on the other side, who, after weeks and weeks of contract renewal negotiations with Leroy Sané, had failed in those attempts. And Leroy Sané has since become a Galatasaray player, signing a 3-year contract where he will be earning about, I think, 9 million euros in net wages, and also receive about 3 million euros per season in loyalty bonuses. So that means that Bayern Munich need to replace, Leroy Sané. Remember, Kingsley Coman is also expected to leave Bayern Munich, so they need a replacement. So they went up and drew up a shortlist, which initially had players like Kaoru Mitoma, Rafael Leao, and Cody Gakpo, according to initial reports. Then, in this week alone, Bradley Barcola came to the surface that he was now the priority for Bayern Munich. According to Bayern Munich's assessment or inquiries, PSG want to keep the player. That's the 22-year-old French international. But also, in the case that a deal was likely to happen, it will be quite expensive in terms of transfer fees. So then they moved to their second best alternative, who is now Nico Williams, who they had added to that list. Remember, initially it was Kaoru Mitoma, Rafael Leao, and Cody Gakpo. Meanwhile, Liverpool do not want to lose Cody Gakpo, according to Anna Slot. So they started having negotiations or talks with Nico Williams' agent, and about 2 meetings are reported to have taken place during the course of this week alone. Now, during the course of those meetings, at the end of those meetings, the player had signaled to Bayern Munich that he would be okay or open to making the switch to Allianz Arena. In other words, he is open to the move. While Bayern Munich were still dwelling in that news, because equally Bayern Munich are well aware of the player's release clause in the region of 58 to 60 million euros, which is okay to them, and they would be willing to pay. But the sticking point again is the high wages. no team has expressed interest in signing Nico Williams, wishes to pay him the kinds of wages he is on currently with Athletic Bilbao. So while they were still thinking about that, Barcelona came back in the conversation. And guess what? Nico Williams' agent held meetings with Barcelona. Now, there are some negotiations that had happened between the player's agent and Barcelona last summer. So, and they had spoken about some figures, etc. there. So Nico Williams met with Barcelona and he's open to joining Barcelona. Why? I mean, the writing is on the wall, like I've said. Hi, Odin. Odin says, I'm back. Good to have you back, Odin. I hope you're doing well. Kindly like the broadcast. Thank you so much, Odin. So, why is he open? Apparently, it's his dream to play for Barcelona. And as soon as that interest was reported, guess what? Lamine Yamal went on his Instagram stories, I think, and posted a picture of them two celebrating a goal at the Spanish national team. So clearly, that's more like Lamine Yamal saying, make it happen, my brother, make the move, or I'll be happy to have you as a teammate. So after all, they're already playing together at the Spanish national team as the preferred starting wingers on the right and left wing, respectively. So anyways, so the player, his agent has held meetings with Barcelona and is open to, to going to Barcelona. In fact, he is even willing to take a pay cut, a wage cut, on his net pay to complete the move to Barcelona. Barcelona are willing to pay him 12 million euros as gross pay, So when you factor in the taxes, I do not know where the final figure lies, but it is slightly lesser than what he currently earns at Atletico Bilbao. So that tilts the scales or the balance in really, really enormous size. According to the top three suitors, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, and Arsenal are still in the conversation. I think if I had to bet on where he would end up, I'd say Barcelona have 6 out of 10 chance that he ends up at Barcelona. I'd say Bayern Munich have about 2.5 a chance that he ends up at Bayern Munich, and then Arsenal have about 1.5 a chance out of 10 that he ends up at Arsenal as current things stand. Of course, all this could change in a matter of days, depending on what changes in the respective teams' priorities and things of that nature, or in regards to what they are willing to do to try and secure the services of the player. He's really, really well sought after by those teams. So he would fancy, first of all, he would prefer to remain in Spain. That's already been reported. 2, his dream team is Barcelona. So that gives Barcelona the higher chance. And then Bayern Munich had 2 successful meetings with the player's agent, and he had given the signal that, Munich is not too bad a city to really make the switch. After all, Bayern Munich is that gigantic team that many players do fancy to play for, even though when some have snapped it to say, no, I'm not that desperate, or I wouldn't want to play for Bayern Munich. And Marco Reus, for me, is one of those players. In his prime at Borussia Dortmund, he said, I'll be as loyal as Steven Gerrard was at Liverpool. So I'll stick here and do not make the move. So anyways, that's the situation regarding Nico Williams. The problem has nothing to do with his release clause. There are clubs that are interested, are willing to pay it. But then also, Athletic Bilbao are also trying to give him a new year contract and raise that release clause from more than 58 or 60 million euros to a significantly higher fee, and also improve on his wages. So if he's currently earning anywhere around 7 to 8 million euros as net pay, it could go to perhaps 9 or 10. So if those that have interest in the player do not get him this summer, and then he gets to sign a new contract with Athletic Bilbao, that means in the future, be it next summer or the summer after that, it would be even much more expensive to try and sign him. So it's either this summer or never. It's either now or never. from the look of things. So let's wait for your clubs to see whether they will go ahead and firm up that interest and really sign Nico Williams. Otherwise, for now, it remains part of the speculation until moves are really made. Anyways, let's go away from Peter Parker's Barcelona and the pursuit of Nico Williams, as well as Bayern Munich. Fenerbahce, and this speaks to Safa Ali. I hope he's still with us. I do not know if he has left for studies, because he has studies. Anyways, Fenerbahce are interested in signing Kyle Walker for Manchester City. I think he would be open to playing for Jose Mourinho. I think Fenerbahce would be a good fit for him, given his age. Not that it's anything to do with the league, but first of all, he's affordable. AC Milan had an option to buy him for about £4.2 million if they really wanted to firm up their interest in the aftermath of his short loan spell with them for the second half of last season. He's out of the Manchester City squad for the FIFA Club World Cup. That's pretty much known. And so we are simply waiting to see whether that deal will go through. But indeed, Fenerbahce are interested in signing Kyle Walker from Manchester City, of course, after missing out on Leroy Sané, who has since joined their rivals in Galatasaray. But also Galatasaray are now, after signing Leroy Sané, are interested in signing Manchester City midfielder Ilkay Gundogan, who is 34 years of age. So that deal could happen, because I've always told you that Man City are willing to listen to offers for players like Ilkay Gundogan, for players like Bernardo Silva, for players like John Stones, Jack Grealish, Mateo Kovacic, Ederson Morales, and those kinds of players. They are really open and willing to listen to offers if suitors do come around. Then, the other biggest news of the day, but before we get to the biggest news of the day, is that Raul Asensio has signed a new deal at Real Madrid that takes his stay up to until June 2031. So that essentially means a 6-year deal. And his release clause is €1 billion. I do not know what's the obsession with Spanish teams with these €1 billion release clauses ever since Paris Saint-Germain went out and put the €220 million on table to sign Neymar from Barcelona a couple of years back. I think that was around 2017, or was it around that time? So Ansu Fati, they put €1 billion, and all these other players, they keep putting those exorbitant, unrealistic release clauses. But also, the other big news of the day, this is regarding Milos Kakes. Milos Kakes, like we've widely reported, he's on the verge of joining Liverpool after AFC Bournemouth completed the signing of Adrian Trafford from Stade Rennes. That deal should be completed in the coming days. It's just a matter of time for them to to confirm to confirm Adrian Trafford joining them from Stade Rennes in France, and then Milos Kakes will go to Liverpool. Now, in the wake of Milos Kakes' news waiting to join Liverpool, there's some interesting news from Atletico Madrid, who are considering signing 31-year-old Liverpool left back Andy Robertson. Yes, you heard it right. Atletico Madrid are interested in signing Andy Robertson from Liverpool. Now, according to Fabrizio Romano, Atletico Madrid have not yet approached Liverpool to start negotiations. And according to David Ornstein of The Athletic, they've equally yet to approach Andy Robertson, but he's a priority target for Atletico Madrid, and they see him as a perfect fit. So again, that caught me a little bit by surprise. Why? The reason as why it caught me by surprise is because while he's 31 years of age, I did not think that, or I did not think that this is the summer that we see Andy Robertson leaving Liverpool, despite the fact that they are signing Milos Kakes, and yet they've equally just lost, Alexander Trent-Arnold. Again, I keep saying many changes are usually not good for a team. You never know how your new players are going to fit in, and that's why I'm sort of a little bit worried for AFC Bournemouth, because they've lost Dinhausen to Real Madrid. They're on the verge of losing Milos Kakes to Liverpool, but also Paris Saint-Germain are interested in signing Eli Zabani there, the centre back, and apparently Bournemouth do value him at about £59 million. So let's say Paris Saint-Germain were to go ahead and pay that, or whatever fee that they may agree on with AFC Bournemouth, that means that their entire backline would have gone into a significant change. Their number one goalkeeper last season was Kepa Arrizabalaga, was unknown from Chelsea. Now they could not go ahead and sign him on a permanent deal because they could not meet his wage demands, But in as far as the transfer fee was concerned, it was unaffordable because apparently this release clause from Chelsea is a modest £5 million. So I think too many changes really in that backline could sort of come back to haunt them, or could cost them, at least for the first half of the season, or even for the entirety of the season. Who knows? As good as a manager Andoni Iraola is, let's wait and see if that won't cost him going into next season. Jolington UG says hi. Hi, Jolington. Welcome to the Footballtribe UG channel. I think I'm seeing you here for the first time, if I'm being honest. Jolington UG. Are you a Newcastle fan? Or are you a Brazil national team fan? Because, we relate Jolington to Newcastle and the Brazil national team. Please do let us know down in the comment section. But seeing that you're new here, please consider subscribing to the channel, but also click a like or press a like on this broadcast. So, like similar situation between Bournemouth and Liverpool, because we do not know about Liverpool. Real Madrid are interested in signing Ibrahim Konate from Liverpool. Now, apparently, they could wait out for Ibrahim Konate's contract to run out, which apparently has about a year left to it. The club have tried to give him a new year contract, which they've apparently yet to come to an agreement to in regards to the contract terms. So let's wait and see. You never know. Yes, Liverpool are interested in signing a centre back, and then Bayer Leverkusen are also interested in their 22-year-old centre back in Jarrell Quensah. So we'll wait and see. I think Andre Gomez, Joe Gomez, not Andre Gomez. Joe Gomez could also leave Liverpool this summer. Then, speaking of Gomez, where did Andre Gomez go? If it were not for injuries, Andre Gomez was bound to be one of the best midfielders that we had ever seen. Formerly at Barcelona, and also made the switch to Everton, where he did suffer multiple injuries. I think had a bit of a similar situation with Yerry Mina. It's easy for us to forget some of these players that they were even really in the Premier League. Yerry Mina, the Colombian centre back, I think we got to see him. We got to see him, much of him with the Colombian national team during the 2018 FIFA World Cup. That's when he really caught our attention. And at the time, he was at Barcelona, and then he made the move to Everton, where he played for about 3 seasons or 2 seasons. I think about 3 seasons. And then, 18, 19, 19, 20, 2021, 2022, 2020, about 4 seasons before he left in 2023 to join Fiorentina, and in 2024 he left Fiorentina to join Cagliari. That's Yerry Mina, for those of you that do remember the Colombian international. Now, about 30 years of age, that's Yerry Mina. But Andre Gomez, for me, is the other player. Portuguese midfielder. I mean, he was really, really exciting to watch. For those of you that I do not know how many of you have tried to follow him, but there was always a very, very good player in Andre Gomez. And again, another player, another good talent whose career was sort of, killed by injuries. Yeah, in 2018, he was on loan from Barcelona to Everton. And then he made 27 appearances. Then Everton bought him permanently in 2019. He was there until 2024. Only made 73 appearances, scored only one goal. Then during that same spell, he spent the 2022-2023 season on loan at Lille, where he made 26 appearances and scored 3 goals according to online figures. And then also last season, he spent it on loan. He spent it at Lille. So he made the switch to Lille in 2024. I think after the 2023 season, that's when he made the permanent move. But those are some of the players that I sort of remember that be like, what happened to this kind of talent? Very, very good players. Then who else? So Andy Robertson to Atletico Madrid is really, really serious. Is really, really serious. So let's wait and see. Now that means Atletico Madrid are interested in signing Andy Robertson from the Premier League. They are interested in signing Christian Romero from the Premier League. They are interested in signing Johnny Cardoso from Real Betis, that's a holding midfielder or a central midfielder. And then they are also interested in signing, what's his name? I'm forgetting, Alex Baena from Villarreal. That's the Spanish midfielder, only 23 years of age. A very, very good player there. He did come on as a substitute in the UEFA Nations League finals. So one of those very, very good players that I thought Premier League clubs would firm up their interest. Another player whose name has sort of gone quiet for me during the course of this transfer window, yet I thought he would be a hot cake, is Ohain Sunset from Atletico Bilbao, a very, very good midfielder there. He does pop up and scores the goals. I think last campaign he scored about 17 goals across all competitions, 15 of those coming in the Spanish La Liga alone, and provided about 3 assists. He had an overall goal involvement of about 20 across all competitions. So very, very interesting talent there in Ohain Sunset. But let's keep our eyes peeled and see whether Atletico Madrid will be able to win over, will be able to sign Andy Robertson from Liverpool. Not sure Liverpool will be willing to listen to offers, but I mean, we can never say never. He's 31 years of age. Who knows? Who knows what would happen? Let's wait and see. Because it will be a good challenge for him to really, really go to Atletico Madrid. So, anyways, away from Andy Robertson, the other is Matthias Tells. Now, briefly, apparently, this is according to Fabrizio Romano, that he understands Robertson is still on joining Atletico Madrid and initial talks have already started. That's on the player side. Atletico consider Robertson a priority as earlier on revealed. So there you have it. So Matthias Tells, remember this one spent last season on loan from Bayern Munich to Tottenham Hotspurs, and it looks like Tottenham Hotspurs are going to be keeping him or signing him permanently for a fee of about 35 million euros plus an additional 10 million euros as loan fees. So he is leaving Bayern Munich and joining Tottenham Hotspurs on a permanent deal. That agreement has been reached between the two parties. So let's wait and see how he does perform under Thomas Frank. I can see Peter Parker says, I can't wait for Inter Miami match. I'm too excited to watch Lionel Messi. Yes, Lionel Messi. I think, yeah, he was speaking about the Club World Cup in an interview, and he said it's a good. He said it's a good competition. It's sort of a new format, and he likes it and is looking forward to playing in it. Let me see if I can find those quotes, but it may be a bit difficult, really. Let me see if I can find them. But he did an interview in regards to the FIFA Club World Cup. That the FIFA Club World Cup, guys, does kick off tomorrow at 3 p.m. Inter Miami play Al Ahly from Egypt. Inter Miami are under the tutelage of former West Ham, former Liverpool, and ex-Barcelona midfielder Javi Mascherano there. And then of course they do have players like Sergio Busquets, former at Barcelona. They literally have a mini Barcelona team of players. Luis Suarez, Lionel Messi, Jordi Alba, and Sergio Busquets are all former Barcelona players that are at Inter Miami. And in fact, in yesterday's broadcast, was it yesterday or the morning broadcast? I think yesterday's broadcast, we were talking about the FIFA Club World Cup and how far excuse me, and how far and how good it would be for for Lionel Messi to go far. Yes, it was actually I think this morning. Yes, it was this morning. We're speaking on how crucial it would be for Inter Miami to go far in that competition, because it would mean a lot of PR for the FIFA Club World Cup that hasn't received really good PR, to be honest. It's the PR around it has been a bit underwhelming. It's sort of like people are not talking about it that much. Ticket sales have not been so many, according to some reports. As of yesterday or the other day, FIFA had only sold about less than 25,000 tickets for the opening match, and then they did also reduce apparently the ticket prices for the opening fixtures. But let's wait and see. I think the tournament may become more interesting or more engaging as it grows, especially when it reaches maybe match day 3 and then the round of 16, about and then more importantly the round of 16, when maybe majority of the lesser teams are out. So let's keep our eyes peeled for those games to come tomorrow. There are 3 games on the opening day. The late kickoff at 10 p.m. East African time will be between Paris Saint-Germain and Atletico Madrid. Remember, I do think that Paris Saint-Germain are one of the favorites for this tournament. But also at 7 p.m., Bayern Munich will be playing up against Auckland City, while at 3 p.m. Al Ahly will be up against Inter Miami there for the FIFA Club World Cup. So let's wait and see how that also goes down. But we'll try to find time and be here with you guys to go at least to go over one of those games, or to bring you the latest from the events in those games as they go on. I can't find the quotes for Lionel Messi in regards to the FIFA Club World Cup, but also he spoke in Spanish, and I was struggling to listen in myself, and I do not do really well when it comes to really subtitles. But yeah, the FIFA Club World Cup does get underway on Sunday. There you have it. Before we conclude on transfers, is there any other major issue that we've left out? I don't think so. I do not think so. We've spoken about Viktor Gyokeres, we've spoken about all the strikers and etc. We've spoken about Andy Robertson, we've spoken about Milos Kakes, we've spoken about Stefano Pioli, who is bound to be the next manager at Fiorentina. Maybe the other person we've not spoken about is Gennaro Gattuso, who would be the next Italian national team manager, replacing a sacked Luciano Spalletti. A move that personally I did not really see coming, but it is what it is. Let's see how Gennaro Gattuso would fare with the Italian national team when he does join them as their next head coach. Then moving away from that, let's briefly, I speak a little further about the FIFA Club World Cup. Of course, it's a new format, a new trophy, a redesigned trophy, and a redesigned sort of tournament that has 32 teams. I think it's going to be played once every 4 years. So it's not going to be an annual tournament, as many of you have been used to. That every year we have a FIFA Club World Cup. So the 32 teams are grouped in 8 different groups. Those 8 different groups will play 3 games at the group stages, and the top 2 teams will advance to the round of 16, and the competition will go like that until July the 13th, when the finals will be played on Sunday, July the 13th. All the tournament is going to be played in the United States of America across 11 different cities, and this is for purposes of reminding you how the different groups look like. Group A has Al Ahly, Inter Miami, Palmeiras, and FC Porto. Group B has Atletico Madrid, Botafogo, PSG, and Seattle Sounders, while Group C has Auckland City, Bayern Munich, Benfica, and Boca Juniors. Group D has Chelsea, ES Tunis, Flamengo, and Lyon, while in Group E has Inter Miami, Monterrey, River Plate, and Uwara Reach. River Plate, that's the team that has Franco Mastattuano, who has joined Real Madrid, but will be playing for River Plate during the course of this tournament. Speaking of a player in that similar situation, Leroy Sané will be part of Bayern Munich's FIFA World Cup tournament until June the 30th, when his contract formally expires with Bayern Munich. Same situation with Eric Dyer, who has already joined AS Monaco in France. Of course, Leroy Sané, like I informed you, has joined Galatasaray. The other player that will be playing for a different team is Fabio Vieira, who spent last season on loan to FC Porto from Arsenal. Now, FC Porto would have loved to sign Fabio Vieira. However, they do not have the financial resources to resign him back. So, but Arsenal have allowed them to use him at the FIFA Club World Cup, hoping that maybe other teams get to watch him more and his value sort of grows and they get to sell him this summer. But otherwise, he won't be part of Arsenal's pre-season squad. So let's wait and see pre-season arrangements. Anyways, in Group F is Borussia Dortmund, Fluminense, Mamelodi Sundowns from South Africa, UCLA. Then Group G has Al Ain, Juventus, Manchester City, and Wydad Casablanca or Wydad AC, while Group H has Al Hilal, Pachuca, Real Madrid, and Red Bull Salzburg. So those are the different groups for you. So match day 1 will run until Thursday of this week. Of course, Monday we'll have teams like Palmeiras playing up against FC Porto. That game will come at around 1 p.m. East African time, while Botafogo will be up against Seattle Sounders. Chelsea will play LFC. Then Boca Juniors on Tuesday will be playing Benfica. Flamengo against ES Tunis, while Fluminense will play against Dortmund at 7 p.m. and then Uwara Reach with River Plate at 10 p.m. Mamelodi will come on Wednesday, so that's the Brazilians from South Africa. They will be in action on Wednesday at 1 p.m. while Monterrey will play Inter Milan, and then Manchester City will play later at 7 p.m. against Wydad Casablanca, and then Real Madrid will play their first game against Al Hilal. That's the Saudi Pro League side on Wednesday at 10 p.m. East African time. Pachuca will be up against Salzburg on Thursday, while Al Ain will be against Juventus. That is to complete match day 1 for the FIFA Club World Cup. So there you guys have it regarding the FIFA Club World Cup. Like I said, I tip PSG as the favorite alongside the likes of Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Inter Milan. Do not really count them off, but they are under a new manager. They are under a new manager in Christian Chivu, while Ivan Yuik did join Atlanta, who lost Gian Piero Gasperini, who has since moved to AC Roma. So yeah, look out for players like Enrique with Real Madrid, Adagula, Rodrigo Goes, of course, Judy Bellingham, Vinny Jr. When you go to check out some of his player profiles, what you will see, majority of the highlights are players from Real Madrid. They're the ones they're highlighting, really. But of course, there are a few others like Imam Aoso from Al Ahly, then Brahim Diaz from Real Madrid, Mohamed El Shaniwe, that's the goalkeeper, Egyptian goalkeeper, and things of that nature. Anyways, guys, it's been what? It's been about 1 hour and 20 minutes for the course of this broadcast. Allow me sort of call it a night. But before I call it a night, I want to remind you that in case you're interested in learning cybersecurity, coding, as well as web design, do not hesitate to check out our colleagues at Able State, based in Kansanga, Kampala, Uganda. They do offer both in-person and online training sessions, as well as career guidance to their trainees, and they do help them find jobs in the dynamic digital market in the aftermath of their training. So do check them out. I'll leave the link down in the description. You do qualify for a 5% discount if you do follow through, if you do find courses that do interest to you and register with them. But otherwise, thank you so much, Safa Ali, for being part of today's broadcast, one of our usual suspects. Thank you, Bao Danish from Uganda. Thank you, Press Nkosi. Thank you, CX4. Oh, no. Actually, it is not CX4. It's C14. I think C14. That's how the Roman numerals are read. Apology. Then thank you so much, Peter Parker, for always sparing us the time to be with us. And then thank you so much, Odin. Thank you so much, Jolinton, UG. Thank you all for being part of tonight's broadcast. Let's do this again tomorrow as the FIFA Club World Cup does get underway. Otherwise, have yourselves a blessed Sunday and a blessed night as well. Bye-bye.